Hi friends. So I did not show you the other parts of the meal, but I will in a moment. But let's talk gravy. This is simple, it's yummy. Just get the butter in once. So this is mushroom gravy. And I found a little package of hamburger, 80-20. No, 85-15 in our freezer, and we talked about it and we thought, oh, let's not have burgers, let's have mashed potatoes, gravy, and little tiny hamburger patties and onions, just like our moms used to make. So this is good comfort food, but what I thought you really want to see is the gravy. So it's easy, it's yummy. I've cooked the mushrooms. You can see I have a ton more back here because we do love mushrooms. I've told you that before. But I've got some butter in the skillet. I cooked the mushrooms totally dry, and then I've got butter in there. And I'm gonna put in 4 tablespoons of flour. Actually, I'm gonna put 5 in because it was just over about 4.5 tablespoons of butter. And when you do a gravy, when you're doing a roux like this, you want it to be equal parts. So this is gonna make a lot of gravy, but that's okay. I made a good amount of mashed potatoes. And we also don't have to eat all the gravy. So I've got the butter, and I'm gonna move on to my whisk because that's really what I want to do in here. Okay, it's beginning to kind of cook together. Now I have some vegetable stock that I had made earlier with kind of the dregs of the vegetables, like the ends of the carrots, the ends of the onions, celery, peppers, whatever I have that's kind of given up the fight. I just stick it in a pot, let it cook for a couple of hours, and then I put in a freezer bag or in a container if I think I'm gonna cook something later that has it. But okay, we're ready for the vegetable stock. If I'd had beef stock, because we're having burgers, I probably would have put that in too, but I don't have beef stock, so I'm just using the vegetable stock, and you can see how rich it is because it's got those onions in it that were just really good. So we're just gonna keep whisking this. Now, it looks really soupy, but because I've got that flour in there, it's gonna thicken up. So I'm gonna let this cook, keep moving it. Gravy's not something you can walk away from. Chili is totally something you can walk away from. You can't walk away from gravy. You need to keep moving it because it can burn on the bottom, and then you're gonna have, well, yeah, not so nice. The reason you want to wait a little bit until the flour gets kind of cooked in with the butter is because if you don't, you're going to have raw flour taste, and that's not a nice taste. But if you let it get mixed in with the butter, you're going to get kind of a nutty taste. I don't know why that is, something in science, and I'm a theologian and not a mathematician, but I'll tell you, it's nutty and it's yummy. Now it's beginning to look like a thin gravy. I like my gravy thick. You could put a little milk in later on if you wanted to, but there doesn't need to be any dairy in this portion. I might have put a little butter and a little sour cream in the mashed potatoes, but you don't need to do that here because it's going to be perfectly fine by itself. Now I am going to put some Marsala wine in. and that's really good for chicken marsala. But it's gonna add a little extra flavor, and I'm just gonna put 2 tablespoons in, and I'm gonna cook that in and mix that up. You don't want to do that when it first starts because you don't want it you don't want it to be too soupy, but I can see it's thickening up. It's definitely thickening up. So just gonna keep cooking it. I can see that when I move it across the pan, it is thickening. And the longer I'm patient with this, just cooking it on a medium heat, the longer I cook it, the thicker it's gonna get. Now, when because I'm gonna have some of this of leftovers, right? Now, it might get extra thick then. I'm gonna go ahead and dump the rest of the mushrooms in, and that's gonna thin it out a little bit more, which means I've got a little more cooking time. But we want as many mushrooms in there as we can get. You know, we like ourselves some mushrooms. So we've got that going. Oh, you can see it really bubbling. I've tried to work on my angle a little better so you can see the pan a little bit better. Thanks for your comments that have told me that I needed a little better angle. Oh my gosh, you guys. This smells so good. So good. Now, I have had a couple of ridiculously bad crash and burns with gravy. I'm gonna say the worst fiasco of gravy ever was, I don't know what Thanksgiving it was. It was with Pete and Amy Ellen, and they had invited me. I went there a couple of years while I was in seminary and a couple of years while I was out of seminary for Thanksgiving, and had wonderful times with their family, and just loved being with them and loved cooking with them in the kitchen. And one year they were like, hey, Cheryl, we need the gravy done. And I was like, and they were like, you're on it. And I was like, absolutely. And I got in there and it was bad. It just was bad. So much so that I feel like I might have brought a jar of like store-bought gravy to save myself the next year. I don't know if that's a made up lie in my mind, but in my head, that's how it went. Now I'm gonna let this sit for a minute while I grab a spoon. And I wanna see what the consistency is in terms of taste, but I also wanna see how can you see how when I move it around, it's thick enough, it's like I'm parting the Red Sea. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so yummy. Now, because I'm planning on eating this mostly on the mashed potatoes and not on the burgers, you could put the burgers in there. You could put chicken in here if it was already cooked. Oh, that's yummy. Not gonna make anybody sad. Not gonna make anybody sad. If you don't like mushrooms, all you have to do is start with the butter and the flour and then add some broth. Add some chicken broth. If you, vegetable broth, like I said, you could even do milk if you wanted just a basic. If you had cooked sausage or bacon to start with and added that as your fat to start with the gravy, that would not make you sad either. If you're doing biscuits, gravy's really simple. Don't be afraid of it. And oh, Lord have mercy. There are just some days that need gravy. And today is Monday, and today needs gravy. Mushroom gravy for Mondays, right? Why does Tuesday and the tacos get all the love? Let's have some mushroom Mondays. This is really at a good point. I think we're gonna call that good. What do you think? Do you wanna come for dinner? I'd love it if you came for dinner. How many plates should I set? Friends, what are your comfort foods? What are you cooking up that you're thinking, oh yeah, baby? Okay, I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna call Peyton. We're gonna get some plates. It's time for dinner. Love from New Jersey.